buy the dip. Okay, one of the most famous sayings in the stock market is buy the dip. Now the issue with this is most people don't buy the dip. It's arguably the most famous saying in the stock market, buy the dip. But how few people actually do it is another thing. Most people, when the stock market's going down in a major way, when there's all these incredible opportunities and there's all these stocks down 30, 40, 50, 60%, whatever, right? Most people do not take advantage of buying the dip. In great companies that have tremendous fundamentals and have great CEOs and have great, futures in front of them, people don't buy the dip in those stocks. And it's absolutely one of the worst decisions you can ever make. Like when you get great companies at silly prices and they're down significantly, understand first that doesn't happen very often. And so when you do get those rare opportunities for truly great companies with truly great CEOs and business models, trading at extremely low prices, you better buy the dip and you better take advantage of those deals in the market because you might not get another opportunity in great companies for another 5, 10, 15 years. And the other thing is with great companies, our market caps obviously keep going up over time. Their stock price keep going up over time. So let's say you're buying XYZ company. It's a great company at $50 a share, right? Or let's say you have an opportunity at $50 a share. The stock was at 100, it went down to 50, and you decide not to buy the dip, let's say, for instance, right? Now the stock goes up and up and up for the next many years, goes to $500 a share, right? Now it has its next big crash, and 5 years later or whatever, and it crashes down to $250. Well, now you can buy the dip at $250 instead of buying it at $50, right? And so that's where you get in trouble if you don't take advantage of these deals when they're presented, and you're like, I think I can get it for a few pennies lower, or a few bucks lower, or a few percent lower, or something like that. In great companies, take advantage of those deals. If it's a subpar company, if it's a questionable management team, if it's a questionable business model, if it's unprofitable, that can be a different story. But for truly great companies, I'll give you a couple examples of perfect examples of buy the dip on great companies, okay? One of those is Meta, right? Meta's a stock, and it looks so grand now, right? We're sitting on about a $300,000 gain on Meta stock in the public account. It's absolutely beautiful, right? I've bought the dip and bought the dip and bought the dip on Meta a lot of times. I have 5 pages of buying dip on Meta stock over time, right? And so the profits have been enormous, obviously, but I bought the dip a lot of times, and the profits are actually going to be much more substantial for Meta over the coming years, in my opinion, than what it is now. This is a perfect example of a great company with a proven CEO and a proven business model, very profitable, buy the dip, great balance sheet, all those things, right? Palantir, another example, great balance sheet, proven CEO, has been leading the company a long time now at this point in time, right? And I bought the dip, and I bought the dip, and I bought the dip many, many times, right? And obviously we're doing tremendous on the stock, and I think we're going to be doing a whole lot better on Palantir over time. So when you're getting great companies that have great long-term futures in front of themselves, very good balance sheets, and are on very stable footing, you get those opportunities, you better take advantage of those opportunities because those are the best deals you'll ever get in the market, okay? The interesting thing, and I think this matters in a significant way in regards to Quest and their product, right, is Quest 3, I think, is going to sell somewhere between 50 million and 100 million units. That's my personal opinion on what I think demand is going to be there. I think with the buzz that's in the space now, specifically because Apple got in and they create so much buzz whenever they launch a hardware product, and a lot of people realizing, I can't afford that crap, like it's $4,000, like, but I can't afford $500 and it looks awesome, right? And so if you look at Quest 2 sold around 20 million units roughly. And so in my opinion, Quest 3 is going to do between 50 million and 100 million units. And the beautiful thing for Meta is they're going to reach mass scale way before Apple can ever dream of reaching mass scale. Like, when does Apple reach mass scale in VR? I mean, if they do, there's a question, if they do ever reach mass scale, and mass scale means selling 50 million, 100 million plus units a year, or in total, right? I think that could be 2025, 2026, maybe 2027 for Apple. So we're talking about years from now in terms of reaching any sort of big scale in terms of the Vision Pro product, and if they create any products that are going to be cheaper price points or anything like that. So which means Meta is going to ultimately capture a massive amount of developers that are going to take building VR very, very serious, which is going to be a change because Apple's kind of always been the innovator and kind of stealing everybody to be developers on their stuff more than anybody else. But I think ultimately Meta's going to beat them. Their strategy makes a lot more sense. And, Obviously, Apple used to really understand this back in the day, right? And when they launched iPhone, when they launched iPad, it was extremely popular with the youth, like specifically people under the age of 30. A lot of the older folks, people in their 40s, 50s, business professionals, things like that, they didn't take iPads serious. They didn't take the iPhone serious. They thought those were just fun devices for the kids, okay? It was over time, as the years ticked on, that more and more of, let's call it older folks, took the iPhone more serious as like, this is going to replace my BlackBerry, and took the iPad more serious as this is going to, replace a lot of use of my laptop or my traditional computer and things like that. But they really captured the youth, and Apple's gone with a different approach to Vision Pro. They're trying to attract, well, who's going to afford a $4,000 device? I mean, that's only going to be super older people. So they're trying to attract people in their 40s and 50s and 60s to use that VR device, which is, going to be, I think, a much tougher proposition because the youth just can't afford it, and their parents can't afford it either, just to be quite frank, at that sort of price point, right? And, the two big guys that obviously ran Apple and, came up with the things like the iPhone and the iPad and the MacBook and all these devices that are super popular today, these are the two men that used to run Apple, right? It was a Steve Jobs and Johnny Ive show. These were the two men in charge, and they understood the youth. They understood coming out with products that were at price points that the youth could, and their parents could afford, right? The high school kids that were excited about it, the middle school kids, the college kids, the people in their 20s that just graduated college and are entering the workforce and things like that. They understood about, look at what they did with the iMac line after Steve Jobs came back and what Johnny Ive and Steve Jobs did there. Look what they did with the iPod line, right? Capturing the youth there. Look what they did with the iPhone. Look what they did with the iPad. All the devices, right? And so those two men led that company at that point in time, but who's the number one and number two that Apple lists on their website nowadays, right? It used to be these two guys were the ones running the show. It's this man right here, Tim Cook. He's the number one, and the number two they list on their website is Catherine Adams. In all due respect, do you think these two understand anything about capturing the youth? Building out massive new epic products? I mean, just all due respect, I don't think they do, okay? And that's the bottom line with that. I don't want to say anything more disrespectful, but they just don't, okay? That's the bottom line with that. And so if Zuckerberg had to compete with these two guys on hardware, I say, good luck, Zuck. Good luck, okay? But with these two being the ones running the show at Apple, I like his chances. I'll put it that way. Against these two, good luck, Zuckerberg. Against these two, I like your chances a bit, okay? And so this is going to be an intriguing thing to see who actually wins this war, because it actually might be the first hardware battle that Apple has lost. And they've never lost a hardware battle before, from what, or at least, as long as I can see. I mean, at the end of the day, they won them all, right?